Any more thoughts on being pregnant?
It's pretty shit, honestly.
Isn't it magical?
Most of the time I just feel sick or tired or bloated or gassy or farty or yeah, it just feels like your body's being taken over by something, you know. We're here in Margalef, which is a crag in northern Spain, Catalonia, and it's been really nice. We've had a really good time, and it's also kind of marked me moving into my second trimester. So my first trimester we were in Saint-Léger in south of France, and then we went home and I got my 12-week scan, and then 12 weeks is when you move into your second trimester. I'm still feeling kind of tired, to be honest. Like every morning it takes me a really long time to kind of get started, and often I'll show up at the crag and I'm like not that psyched, but I know that as soon as I step on the wall I will be psyched, so I kind of just make myself do it. The biggest takeaway for me is like when I do get on the wall I can still kind of try hard as normal. Like I actually managed to on-site a super pumpy long AA, like really nice, like totally my style, really flowy, fun climbing, like having to work stuff out on the fly when I was really pumped, and had a great time. So I'm just like, well, you know, that seems like I'm climbing just the same as usual. But then I think what happens is like, then I need more rest days, or then that's like the end of my day rather than the first route of the day or something like that. So down there you've got Catedral, and the crag just to the left of it, I can't remember the name of it, but it's where the famous Eravea is, the 8C+/9A. And then down there you've got Cova de Salida, where we were climbing a few days ago. And then like down on this side you've got the laboratory. And then the next valley over you've got tons of other climbing as well. And then up there you've got Espadailles. So Margalef is insane because there's just so much good rock, like just good rock everywhere. Apart from the nausea, one of the most challenging things about the first trimester is there's this kind of convention to not tell anyone that you're pregnant until you get your 12-week scan. I definitely did tell people just because it feels weird to kind of be dishonest and not really like share what your current experience is. And then the other thing is that like all of these different pregnant women that you know, if you just don't talk to them and tell them that you're pregnant, or people who've been pregnant, you can't learn from them, you can't ask questions. You know, most the times when we go through something difficult, you can kind of reach out to people and share your experiences and be like, what helped you? Or like, what did you find? So you feel like a little bit more in the dark, I would say. But if we talked a bit more about that, and I'm not saying that people should, but if that were the case, you know, I think that there'd probably be more knowledge within your friendship groups or just on the internet or wherever.
What are you doing?
I'm changing the loop. Sorry, no. What's it called?
Strap?
I'm changing the strap on my chalk bag to one from Angus's chalk bag because my chalk bag strap doesn't fit around my waist anymore.
Bit of a moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of a moment. I didn't think it would happen this soon, to be honest. Do you want to start on the 60 plus warm-up?
Yeah.
The one that says it's okay for warming up. Or at least doesn't say it's bad for warming up. Yeah, Margalef's not often the best place for warm-ups. I think a lot of the lower grades can be a bit tweaky on the fingers, or they have powerful starts. You kind of have to sort of take it easy and not be afraid to say take and warm your fingers up a bit, because it's got quite cold again now as well. We also forgot the stick clip today. So you're gonna have to be my stick clip because I can already see the start of this one looks hard.
In Margalef, the kind of stuff you do on pockets is what you'd expect on a route like 3 grades harder or 4 grades harder elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't believe this is a warm-up.
Yeah, the standard of people's pocket pulling power here is pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes I can't tell the difference between some of the grades. You just, if it suits me a bit more, it just seems like so much easier. I just think I've got to get used to the area. But I really like that. I think it's quite cool to come to an area and not have to be just pushing really on like really hard routes to be pushing your climbing quite a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like even on my warm-ups I'm becoming a better climber.
Totally, yeah. I felt that as well. Yeah, that's a good point. So what's it like, Angus, to be the climbing partner of your pregnant wife who's also climbing? Is it really annoying when she outclimbs you?
Yeah, it's quite disheartening when you're like, shit, that's 2 of you that have just burnt me off in one go. I mean, I think you're doing really well, Hazel. I think you've been really tired, but when you're on the rocket, you just climb really well still. I think particularly with your endurance, your long end continuous endurance, I think you're just really fit still. So in some ways, it seems like your strengths haven't changed, but your weakness has got a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Your pulling power isn't as good, and you're not that good on steep stuff at the moment. But when it's just an endurance route, it's amazing what you can pull out the bag. It's amazing that you can be really tired in the van and just completely sort of knocked out, and then get to the crag and still be really tired, but tie in and then just perform, and then just go back to lying in the van or whatever. And then just outside of the climbing or like beyond the climbing, I think, being tired and feeling nauseous a lot of the time, and that just has a little bit of toll on everything. Like eating has been really tricky, like finding something you can eat. Like the evening time is kind of stressful in a way, like get back from the crag, what are we going to eat?
Trying to figure out what snacks to take to the crag or what evening meal to have has been really hard. There was a whole week where I could only eat cereal. There was like 10 days at a time where I didn't have like any protein sources, and you're hearing all of this messaging like you've got to have this omega-3 thing and you've got to have this much iron and this much protein, and I'm like, well, I'm definitely not getting it from my diet because there's so many things I don't want to eat. If you just stroke your belly enough, then people will think you're pregnant, not just bloated. So I'm finding that I'm not actually having to change too much about my sport climbing, but a few things I'm doing are that I'm just being more careful around the first and second bolt, making sure I don't slip off in the first few meters and land on my back or something, so using the stick clip a little bit more. I'm also just making sure that I get really good soft catches, and that's something that me and my belayers have been talking about. And then the other thing I'm doing is like, probably wouldn't be doing like hard slab climbing right now, but I just feel like the risk reward ratio to me doesn't really weigh up unless it was so easy that I knew I wouldn't fall.
Okay, all right. My name is Joy. I am a climbing coach that specializes in pregnant and postpartum climbers. For the first trimester, we generally know that you won't feel well. You'll have nausea. But one thing that we don't really talk about a lot is how much fatigue you may experience during the first trimester. One thing to adjust during the first trimester is the volume of your training and climbing. This can really help when you are battling fatigue. The fatigue is not a fatigue that we want to push through. Adjusting your volume will be really helpful. One thing to learn and focus on during the first trimester is your deep core activation and how to take a 360-degree diaphragmatic breath.
I think it's cool when we see sort of female climbers doing inspiring things and kind of like leading in pregnancy and kind of bouldering and that sort of stuff. But I think it's important to be mindful that like everything I'm doing at the moment is because I'm a really experienced climber. Like most of what I can do is based on the fact that I know how to fall and land safely, that I've got a really good belayer. You know, having worked a lot in the kind of fear of falling space, I know that that's not true of many climbers, potentially even most climbers. You know, I see people take really hard catches all the time at the crag. So my intuition around leading being safe for me still is certainly based on the fact that I can do all that stuff, and I'm really experienced in falling and belaying and fear management. So it's all about kind of working out what's appropriate for you, and not just like thinking that there's these hard and fast rules around, like, you know, when can you lead until, you know, that just doesn't exist. It's really got to depend on you, your pregnancy, and your experience as a climber as well.
You ready?
Yeah, psyched. Last here 14 years ago. Come back with this.
And your little apple-sized offspring in your belly.
Yeah. Climbing's just been like this real sort of remedy for a lot of the symptoms for me. It's not to say that it's been easy. You know, there's definitely been days where I've definitely not climbed as well, or I've not felt like climbing, or I've had to rest way more than I usually would have. But overall, it's been a blessing to have climbing rather than not be climbing. So that's good.